With the best brand of football in Idaho, this is the 8-Man Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in. It is the Week 7 edition of the Idaho 8-Man Prepcast. We are coming to you live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and I think for the first time tonight, we're going to try things out on Instagram and see how that goes too. You know, more streams in the water, so to speak. My name is Brandon Baney. Let's bring in our 8-man panel, starting with the man who operates the Idaho 8-man X account. He's also just recently started an Idaho 8-man Instagram account. It's Will Hoenike. Will, what's going on?
We're down a couple people tonight that I know would be watching because Prairie and Clearwater Valley are just getting set to kick off their football game right now.
Yeah, dude, I think Clearwater Valley has played like 3 Thursday night games this year. They like it.
I don't know if I would say that Alan Hutchins, the head coach, is loving it, but he's taken advantage of the opportunity, and they've moved around some games because of official shortages in the district, and they're getting their games played, and they're getting a head start on their weekend. Yeah,
there is a shortage of officials in District 2, no doubt about it. This guy, as far as I know, has never been an official, maybe at really young levels. He's definitely been a great coach. And last week, he was part of the chain gang for what we think was the second time in his illustrious career. Let's bring him on, former head coach of the Carrie Panthers, Lane Kirkland. Hello, Coach.
Hey there. How are we doing? Yeah, what an experience holding those chains. I'll share with you later in the show, but good to be with you all. Will, good to have you this week. Looking forward to week number 7. We got a JV game going outside here between Carrie and Raft River right now. First half is over.
Okay, that sounds like a good time. On the chain gang, were you the caboose or the lead engine, or were you the guy in the middle with the down marker?
No, we switched back and forth, caboose and lead engine. So yeah, it was a fun job. Not bad.
Cool. Right on. Okay, well, of course, the Idaho 8-Man Prepcast, we are broadcasting live here Thursday night. You can come back and watch anytime on replay at the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, or Instagram account. As I said, we're trying that out tonight to see how it goes. And also, you can listen to this podcast at IdahoSports.com. All of our Prepcasts are on the left side of the homepage, or you can download this podcast wherever you download and subscribe to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. So, and if you're watching live tonight, hit that like button and share this. We want you to be part of the conversation too. So if you've got a comment, a question, a team, a player, a coach you want to shout out, throw it in the comments. We'll throw it up on the screen, and we'll get to have a conversation with you, the fans. Guys, I was doing the Treasure Valley Prepcast with Paul Kingsbury a couple days ago. That's our Prepcast where we just talk about District 3 stuff. Will, one of the freshmen from Council's football team, hopped on and was like, hey, can you guys talk about Council football a little bit? So that was kind of cool.
Yep. They're fringe Treasure Valley. They're more like Longpin Valley, even though, well, I don't know. On that side of the mountain, I don't know. I'll have to research the geography a little bit. But they're a heck of a football team, and they got a big game coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hey, look at this. One of our fellow broadcasters, co-host of the North Idaho Prepcast and a North Idaho broadcaster for us on IdahoSports.com, Ryan Skags. Idaho, home of the best 8-man ball in the nation. Literally. Yeah, guys, I got a text from Ryan earlier this evening. He had been texting somebody from North Idaho, I think maybe from Logos. I'm not 100% sure where this fan was from. But this fan shared something pretty interesting with Ryan. Basically, he went to Max Preps and searched the nationwide, 8-man rankings. Now, when you go to Max Preps, there's it's all kind of lumped together, 6-man and 8-man together. But once you filter out the 6-man part of the equation, Idaho has 2 of the 5 best teams in the entire nation when it comes to the Max Preps rankings. Kendrick is currently number 1 in the entire nation for 8-man football, and Butte County is number 3. And then Logos is at number 8. So that is 3 teams in the top 10, Will, nationally. It's pretty significant.
Those are three really good teams too. They're no joke. I'd put those teams up against just about anybody.
Yeah, it's just incredible. Okay, you asked for it, Will. Council, Idaho, located in the Weasel River Valley. The valley was named Council. Paul Kingsbury behind the scenes, obviously Wikipediaing Council, Idaho. There you go. Back check over. Okay, guys, let's revisit our game of the week. We do this to start off every 8-man Prepcast. We take just what was the most exciting game, start to finish. Doesn't matter the implications. And another week, another incredible comeback for the ages, this time between Challis and North Gem, a couple of Rocky Mountain Conference rivals over there in Districts 5 and 6. North Gem got out, guys, to a 32-12 halftime lead, thanks to 2 touchdown runs by Craig Yost, a touchdown run by Rusty Hatch, and then a 52-yard kickoff return for a touchdown by River Hayden. Challis tried this squib kick thing a couple of times last Friday night. They got burned the very first time they did it. River Hayden took it back the distance, but credit Coach Les Webb and his guys, they stuck with it, and it ended up paying off for them in the second half. So it's a 32-12 lead. Challis scored in the first half on a 3-yard touchdown run by Riggin Dixon, and then a 14-yard touchdown pass from Jason Farr to T. Garrickson. So it was 32-12 at halftime. And the way North Gem controls the clock, you thought, okay, the Cowboys are probably in a pretty good spot. But all of a sudden, third quarter, 11-yard touchdown run by T. Garrickson on a sweep, cuts it to 32-18. Then in the fourth quarter, North Gem scores again. Rusty Hatch scores on a 15-yard touchdown run. Cowboys back up by 20, 38-18. But that's when the comeback began. Jason Farr runs it in for a 6-yard score, gets the 2-point conversion to Garrison Applegate. It's 38-26. Challis goes for one of those squib kicks, and they recover it. So Challis has the ball. Jason Farr dials up Applegate for a 38-yard touchdown. 2-point try, no good, but they're within 6, 38-32. They squib kick again. North Gem recovers it just barely this time, but the North Gem drive stalls on a penalty. And on 4th and 19, they try to run an option play, and it ends up not working. So Challis takes over. They're facing a 3rd and goal from the 9. And that's when Farr hits Applegate with a 9-yard touchdown pass to tie it up, 38-38. They go for 2 here because that's what everybody in 8-man football does. But before they can even line up and go for 2, false start penalty moves it back to the 7-yard line. So now they've got to go for 2 from the 7. Well, Farr fakes it to Erickson on the fly sweep and runs it in from 7 yards out. Just like that, Challis leads 40-38. This was like less than a minute to go. North Gem gets one more crack at it. 2 incomplete passes, a 9-yard run by Hatch, 4th and 1 from the North Gem 44-yard line. Final play. It's an option to the left, gets about 15 yards, but time runs out. Coach Kirkland, what a gut check moment for Challis, down 20 in the fourth quarter. They made the plays they needed to get a big conference win.
Yeah, I was kind of sweating there as you were telling the whole story there to see how that thing was going to turn out. Man, down to the extra point. That's awesome, and what a great comeback and a rally for the Challis Vikings. A great victory for them, and I'm sure a massive celebration in that program this year with that first win on the board. Man, those 2-pointers count, and you got to take care of the ball and deliver in the fourth quarter, and the Vikings did her.
Yeah, Challis had, I went back and watched the film. It looked like Challis had 15 guys available in the game. North Gem had about 10. And so Will, on the flip side of the coin, for Coach Corey Hatch and the North Gem Cowboys, it's hard to give your guys a breather when you've only got like 1 or 2 guys on the bench. They're going to have to play offense, defense, and special teams. I think that's what allowed Challis to come back in that fourth quarter. Those guys just were gassed.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a factor. And then when momentum starts rolling downhill against you, as you're getting tired, it's a little harder to push back. And, the Cowboys, Coach Hatch all along has said, hey, we're really light on numbers. We're going to have to be very efficient. We can't be making mistakes. We can't be making turnovers. We can't be doing that stuff. We just don't have the depth to offset some of that. And he had told me earlier this year, they had a couple of losses earlier this year, and he's like, we lost the game because we couldn't take care of the football. And now this game, they're unable to corral a squib kick. They're low on numbers. So they seem like, on any given day, they can be a tough team. I mean, the style that they play and their efficiency when they're going right to play that way, they're not a team that anybody should be looking past in any size, way, shape, or form. But just those tiny details, Coach. You're talking like the 2-point conversions, just those, the devil's in the details. And when they're not super crisp and super efficient, it's bitten them a couple times now.
Yeah, and you see it on the play calling too a little bit. I mean, they faced a 4th and 19 and they ran it. I mean, that's hard. That's hard to be, to try and pick up 19 yards on 4th down without throwing the ball down the field. On the flip side, Coach Kirkland, I went back and watched the film, and you could tell North Gem just was tired. This quarterback, Jason Farr for Challis, he's one of the biggest guys out there. He's probably like 6'2", 6'3", kind of reminded me of John Elway a little bit. He just was scrambling all over the place. He'd take off to the right, and then he would reverse back to the left. And you could tell the North Gem pass rushers were just tired. They couldn't close on him. And then he's got that big, strong arm. He was completing a lot of long passes down the field, kind of like Elway used to do back in the day.
Yeah, I was a fan. Those you got to have some depth to get all the way to finish through that fourth quarter, and just a couple spare tires on the sideline sometimes doesn't get it done for you.
Yeah, so a significant win for the Challis Vikings as we take a look now at the 1A standings and the schedule here for week 7. I'll direct your attention to the Rocky Mountain Conference at the very bottom on the left-hand side now. Rockland is still 2-0. We'll talk about them in a second. Challis is now 1-1 in league play. North Gem and Mackey behind the 8 ball now. They're both 0-1 in conference play. And Coach Hatch said now, hey, not only do we have to win out, we need help from others, and that's never a good spot to be in. Let's talk about Rockland. They were the other team in action last Friday. They were playing Mackey. We just talked about Mackey's 0-1 to start. Well, that's because they took on Rockland and fell 52-30. And again, Rockland is doing all this with a third-string quarterback in Zach Perman. 7 touchdowns, gentlemen. He threw for 288 yards and 4 scores, rushed for 172 yards and 3 touchdowns. He even returned a kickoff for a touchdown and had 7 tackles on defense. Coach Kirkland, it's incredible to see how Rockland has been able to adapt and even thrive with basically the third-string quarterback.
Yeah, when you have an athlete like that with the last name of Perman and the heart of the Bulldogs, they're going to continue to fight and to perform well. That's a Johnny Manziel kind of performance if Johnny ever played defense. But that's a lot of touchdowns and a lot of rushes, and it certainly is carrying those guys and continuing to perform well. So that's a great performance for the Bulldogs for sure.
And Will, in the passing game, a lot of the usual suspects. Aiden Radford, 7 catches, 171 yards, 2 touchdowns. Woodrow Louder had 3 catches for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think what I was most encouraged by, though, was somebody besides the quarterback rushed for over 100 yards. In this case, Ethan Crump. He had 104 yards and a touchdown. If Rockland is going to make a run, they got to the semifinals last year, but they were too almost one-dimensional at times. When they really needed to run the ball late in the season, they couldn't. If Crump can continue to churn out good yardage and it's somebody besides the quarterback, that makes Rockland just that much more dangerous.
Well, it does. And you mentioned Zach Perman, the third-string quarterback, and the thing in 8-man football, Coach, I'm sure you can attest to it. Your third-string quarterback is very rarely coming off the sideline. He's coming from another position on the field. So you had Xavier Parrish was their number 1 quarterback. He gets hurt, so they move Isaac Held from wide receiver / tight end into quarterback. Then he gets hurt. So now you move Perman in to quarterback. So you're not only talking about your third string quarterback, you have backup receivers or backup tight ends or backup running backs, because you're having to shift all those puzzle pieces around. And sometimes it can take a couple weeks for the dust to settle a little bit. And Rockland is going to run into some of these same problems as North Gem, as they're low on numbers. These kids are going to have to play almost the entire game, every game. And as the season goes on, those bumps and bruises get added up. I think that they're talented enough to make a run. They're definitely skilled enough to make a run. But that you're talking about 3 kids along with Jensen, one of their linemen is out with an injury as well. That's a lot of meat that isn't on the old chicken bone right now, and that's going to be tough for them to overcome. But they definitely have the athleticism to be a big pain in somebody's butt.
Yeah, now 2-0 in conference play. Again, as we pull up the standings here, Rockland's 2-0 in that Rocky Mountain Conference, 3-2 overall. The Week 7 schedule, pretty good one. Water Springs is going to make their league debut. They are 0-3. They will be at North Gem, must-win game for the Cowboys. Carrie is at Rockland, really fun non-conference game, and then Butte County is going to play Challis. That was a conference game last year. Challis petitioned down to 1A football this year and got the green light. So Butte County and Challis will play this Friday as well. Well, let's talk about Carrie's conference, the Sawtooth Conference, District 4 guys. Same old. Carrie beats Hanson 70-6. Dietrich beats Richfield 58-6, and we are 1 week away from that collision between these two 8-man powers. It's going to be our IdahoSports.com Gem State Game of the Week. We're bringing the big production team to Dietrich for that contest. It's going to be such a good battle. But let's talk about Dietrich beats Richfield 58-6. Wyatt Snedden ran the ball well, had 6 tackles and a fumble recovery on defense. Isaac Ward, 5 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown. Torgerson continues to lead from that Mike Backer spot, 8 tackles, 2.5 sacks for Brody Torgerson. And then Connor Perkins, 5 tackles and a pick in the secondary. Will, we talk about all the gadgets they have on offense, but I'm telling you, this Dietrich defense is pretty darn good.
Yeah, it is. It's a solid team all the way around. First-year head coach Garrett Estelle, he knows a thing or two about the 8-man game and about the Dietrich tradition himself. But, Coach, I need you to explain something to me, something I've never got it. The idea of the Mike and the Will linebacker, and that's not me. I wasn't a linebacker. Is it that hard to say middle and weak side? Are we counting syllables here? Is that what we're doing?
It's just cool sounding, isn't it? It's just cool sounding. Hey, Mike. Hey, Will. I mean, Will's a great name. I don't think
but I'm a terrible linebacker.
Will's not the weak side. I think Will's a strong side. But
is it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I even screwed that up. So what are we even doing there? Why is it Will and not like Scott?
I don't know. 16-year-olds, yeah.
Hey, second week in a row, we're diving into names here. Will, on last week's show, we dove into Maddox Kirkland, the great quarterback at Kendrick. We discovered not related to Coach Lane Kirkland. And not only that, but Coach Kirkland has nothing to do with the Kirkland signature products that you see at Costco either. I thought maybe we were talking to Costco royalty here, but not the case.
Coach, your hot dogs that you can get after you go in and you spend $300 on a metric ton of grapes, those hot dogs, chef's kiss, man. Those things are good.
They are amazing. Yeah, they are amazing. I don't even have a Costco card, fellas. It's my wife's card.
Oh man, yeah, you're just part of the membership plan. That's funny.
Keep paying your dues.
Yeah. Hey, here's one of our broadcasters from East Idaho, Joel Richardson. He says, "Bring back the churros, Coach." Yeah, I know my wife was very upset when Costco got rid of the churros. That's yeah, we'll run it up the flagpole, see what we can do there. Carrie beats Hanson 70-6, Coach. Preston Wood, 10 of 11 passing, 179 yards, 3 touchdowns. That was the best passing line of the weekend until Jared Goff went 18 for 18 on Monday Night Football. That was insane to see. Wood also ran for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns on just 6 carries. Really, Matthew Young, Gabe Saili, Stockton Sears, they all took turns sharing the ball. It is allowing, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, Dietrich and Carrie both, they haven't had to lean on their guys as much because they've had these kind of dominant games. And that's going to allow everybody to stay fresh for what they're hoping is a deep run into November, right?
Yeah, that certainly prevents injuries when you have fewer reps out there on the field. And everybody did get to share in the ball game that evening, throwing it and running around and staying pretty safe and clean. I think both ball clubs came out healthy from that game.
And the top 2 tacklers on defense, a sophomore and a freshman, Madden Perks with 13 tackles, sophomore, and then freshman Jonah Saili with 12 tackles for the Panthers as well. So, hey, spoiler alert. Yeah, that Carrie pipeline is going to continue for a while. So, it'll be interesting. more comments coming through here. Carrie is a tough game, even with a healthy Rockland. That's from Joel Richardson. Agreed. Here's Greg Frisbee from Kendrick, guys. Mike equals middle, Will equals weak side, stud equals strong side is how I've always played it and coached it. So, okay, that's from Kendrick, the number 1 team in the nation, according to Max.
Might know a thing or two.
Right. Here's Sam Buffington from North Idaho. Greetings, everybody. Sam, great to see you. Thanks for tuning in.
We're popular tonight.
Yeah, hey, and we want to keep the comments rolling. This is why we're here, for you, the 8-man fans. So, all right, well, let's talk about the Hanson Huskies for a second here, Coach Kirkland. You were on their sideline running the chains this past Friday night. The chain gang is always on the visiting team's sideline. I shared last week, my dad ran the chains for my high school all throughout when my brother and I played. And you really get to learn about the opponents and the coaching staffs and the players and how they run things by being on that opposing sideline. What did you learn about the Hanson Huskies?
So it was an awesome experience. Let's just say that it was a privilege to be on that sideline, a privilege to watch the coaches go to work and the athletes do everything possible within their power. So Hanson shows up, no seniors on the roster. 1 junior is playing that evening, and everyone else is playing on the field is a sophomore or a freshman. So total kudos and compliments to Hanson for sticking with that varsity schedule. And then in their play, they just went hard the entire night. When a touchdown was scored and another kickoff was up, those kids ran to the sideline. They ran back out on the field. The center ran from the huddle to the ball. They responded to the coach all night long, and they just kept playing hard. Those young kids just ran hard. They got hit hard, and as the night went on, of course, that Carrie JV went in, but those kids excelled. They caught some amazing passes. But the greatest thing I thought I saw there was the positivity. Not one single person was on each other, yelling at each other, coach or player. Despite what the score was, it was 100% positive. And those kids fought hard. They loved each other. They worked hard for each other that night. And I've never been on a sideline that's it's been this gotten beat so bad. I've always kind of been on the other side and been on the handing it out kind of deal. But Hanson coaches and their staff and their players were well represented. And I hope that every ball club is like that and positive, and you can take a whole bunch of stuff away from that. And that program's got a good future coming if those kids will stick around. So well done, Coach Lapp and Coach Ratto. It's great to speak with you and very, very impressed.
That's great. And that's what you'll miss from just looking at the score or the box score is those types of stories. So yeah, good things happening at Hanson. They're kind of in that tough spot, right? They're right outside of Twin Falls. Kimberly is kind of right there too. So, it's hard for them to sometimes, like you said, it's a younger program for sure. So way to go, Hanson Huskies, and Toby Lapp in his first season in his second stint coaching the Huskies there in Hanson as well. Okay, let's take a look at the Sawtooth Conference standings and schedule here for week 7, guys. Dietrich and Carrie, both 3-0. Shon quietly 2-0 in conference play. They beat Castleford 82-12 last week, guys. They are 3-1 overall. This is Shoshone's best start to a season since 2011. And they have not made the playoffs since the year 2000, the turn of the millennium. That could change this year, Will. They're at 3-1 at the midway point of the season.
Yeah, a lot of excitement there. I talked to Coach Nunley a little bit over the weekend, and he said that this was their first full varsity win in 7 or 8 years. It was their first win at homecoming in at least a decade. And I said, what's the magic elixir, Coach? I said, it's not like you trucked in a bunch of kids who were, was going to be the starting offensive line for Twin Falls, and you had them all transfer to Shoshone really quick. And he said, I got to give my kudos to the kids. He said they worked really hard over the summer. They were there for 5-on-5. They were there in the weight room. They worked really hard, and they're reaping some of the benefits. And in talking to some people around the 1A level, and Coach Kirkland, you can speak to this more. I think there are a lot of people who think that Shoshone's, this isn't smoke and mirrors. This is a team that has a chance to basically go from a a 12-game losing streak or whatever they had earlier this year that they snapped. They've now won 3 in a row. They have a very real chance to earn an at-large berth into the 1A state playoffs.
100%. The things that are going on there with Coach Nunnally, he'll give all the credit to the kids, but he's directing traffic in an awesome manner. His kids are responding well. They've worked hard all summer long, and they are a dark horse that people better watch out for because they're on the rise. And I know our coach here in Carrie is predicting that that's going to be a heck of a game by the end of the season, and we better have our boots strapped on here at Carrie. But Shon is really rising and having a good time playing ball, and the community is falling behind him as well. So new enthusiasm. Awesome.
Yeah, and the time that I've been at IdahoSports.com, about 4 or 5 years now, Shoshone's had really good girls athletics, volleyball, basketball, those types of things. It's nice to see the football team coming around as well. The Week 7 schedule in the Sawtooth Conference: Dietrich at Hanson, Shoshone at Richfield, Camas County at Castleford, and then we talked about it, Carrie at Rockland in that big non-conference battle. That should be a pretty exciting one for sure. Let's go up north, guys, to the Scenic Idaho Conference in District 1 and the White Pine League in District 2. You'll note the kind of the leaders at the top here. Lakeside continues to lead the North Star League at 3-0 in the league, 4-0 overall. Genesee and Deary both 1-0 in White Pine League play. Genesee's 3-2 overall. Deary is 2-3. We had these crossover games last week. The one we were interested in was Lakeside Genesee, because those are two teams we think are going to be near the top of their respective leagues. And how would that North versus North translate? Well, Lakeside wins pretty big again, 66-28 the final. And then Deary also beat Coeur de Christ in a crossover game, 60-24. Will, TJ Byer, 20 carries, 230 yards, 4 touchdowns. That is, they kept feeding him. That's a man's workload right there.
Yeah, he was probably pretty sore that next morning when he got up, although he's, all of 16, 17 years old. He probably didn't notice it. I mean, I accidentally stubbed my toe and I need to sit down for like 3 hours, you know what I mean? But the price we pay for getting old, I guess. But he's very quietly having a nice year, and just per usual, unfortunately, in the 1A level, there's a lot of good things going on up there that they're kind of flying under the radar a little bit. You start talking about classification player of the year awards. How's Tyson Charlie not right there with, a Connor Perkins or a Preston Wood or an insert player here? He's got to be right there with him. He just goes out and just goes bananas on pretty much a weekly basis, which is incredible, seeing as how this is his first year playing football since 6th, 7th grade, whatever. They're doing some good things up there. Wallace is doing some good things. Genesee under Coach Podrabski kind of getting things turned around. It may not have some of the sizzle that some people are used to, but there's some good things happening up there. There's some good ball being played.
Yeah. Deary, I'll note, did not have Nolan Hubbard in at quarterback. They started freshman Jarrett Keene instead. He had 2 rushing touchdowns as well. So that's a situation we'll keep an eye on up there in Deary as we move forward. And then if we look at the schedule here, guys, more crossover games this week. Deary at Lakeside. Also, Wallace at Genesee and Clark Fork at Lewis County. Wampus Cats and Eagles on Saturday in Nez Perce, I believe. It might be Craigmont, actually. But somebody's getting their first win of the season, which is always great to see. Okay, Will, Lakeside took down Genesee. Now they're going to tangle with the other, co-leader up top there in Deary. That's another game I'm going to keep a very close eye on this Friday night.
I have a hard time going against Lakeside. Just you're rolling a lot of good numbers right now if you're Lakeside, and I'm going to stick with them. They're playing good football.
And for Wallace at Genesee, absolute must-win game for the Miners. We'll explain why when we take our first look at if the playoffs started today, what would the bracket look like? Wallace has to win this game. I'll just leave it at that for now. Okay, let's wrap up with the Long Pin Conference, guys. District 3, we finally had the opening week of competition there as well. Kind of the teams we expected to win did. Tri-Valley beats Cascade, 58-20. Garden Valley beats Salmon River, 56-26. Council defeats Horseshoe Bend, 58-6. So again, looking at the long pin conference, Tri-Valley, Garden Valley, Council all 1-0, Cascade, Salmon River, Horseshoe Bend all 0-1. Tri-Valley 5-0 overall, Garden Valley 3-0 overall, Council 3-1. Only loss is to Kamei from the 2A ranks. And we get some interesting conference games this week. Obviously at the top, Council at Tri-Valley. And then you have Garden Valley at Horseshoe Bend and Cascade at Salmon River. Coach Kirkland, what do you think about this Council Tri-Valley game? I think Tri-Valley has the best athlete on the field in Jace Wagoner, the dual threat quarterback. Council might have more depth than Tri-Valley, though.
I agree on that. If I wasn't going to Montana tomorrow, up in your neighborhood, I was going to go to that game and just take a look and just scout it out and see where these guys are at. But that's going to be a great telling game, and shaking out who is number one there in District 3 amongst the 1As. That's going to be a battle. Council at Tri-Valley. I'm going to go with Tri-Valley since it's at a home, and they've been there in most recent years. But I think it's going to come down to one touchdown and maybe those extra points, but we'll see.
The guy I kind of penciled for Council is Wade Vining. Wade Vining, right, Will? Wyatt's already graduated. Okay.
Yep.
I had
to stop and think about it too. I think you're right.
Wyatt is playing at the College of Idaho now. Wade Vining, the younger Vining, he is a true disruptor coming off the edge at defensive end. And if he can contain Wagoner, then, that might tilt it into Council's favor.
Yeah, Vining and Remington Kroll, one of their younger players, has just had a phenomenal start to this season. And if they can keep Wagoner from running wild, I think that tilts the scales in their favor a bit.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Okay, but let's take a look, guys. We are into October, so I've officially started examining the Max Preps rankings a little more closely, started, sketching out playoff brackets. And hey, if the playoffs started today, what would it look like? Who's looking good? Who has work to do over these final 4 weeks of the season? I'm going to share this bracket I made up on the screen. If you're watching this, I recommend you make your screen full size so you can see it a little bit easier, guys. But here's what I've got. If the 1A football playoffs started today, Dietrich, currently the number 1 team in the Max Preps rankings. Carrie is not that far behind, just 1.2 points separate those two teams at the top. And then Tri-Valley, Rockland, and Council round out the top 5 respectively. So the way the playoffs work here, the 4 highest ranked district champions receive a first round bye. And then the lowest ranked, because there's 5 conferences, the lowest ranked conference champion plays the lowest at-large team in the first round. All of the remaining slots will be determined based upon Max Preps rankings. So if the playoffs started today, your 5 conference champions, and the way we project that is who's in first place in the league standings. And if there's a tie in terms of win-loss, we go with who has the higher Max Preps ranking. That could obviously change as we go here, but we'll do this every week. We'll update you on how the bracket changed. Dietrich would be 1, Tri-Valley would be 2, Rockland would be 3, Lakeside would be 4. They would all get the bye. Deary would be the lowest ranked conference champion. They would play the lowest at-large team, which would be North Gem right now in that 12-5. Challis, the 11, would be at Carrie, the 6, Mackey 10 at Council 7, and then the 9-8 would be Shon and Garden Valley. Will, first blush, what do you make of this?
I think we're going to see some changes between here and there. I think there are teams that have opportunities to make a move. I tell you, keep your eyes on Cascade. They're a team that I think has a chance to play their way into that 10, 11, 12 range. They're probably going to have to pick up a win over Council or Garden Valley just because their overall strength of schedule I don't know is terribly strong. And they got a big one tomorrow that's basically going to be a must win. You can call it an elimination game with Salmon River. Not officially, but Stuart Derrick on Cascade, Devin Herzig on Salmon River, one of those two gentlemen going to try and lead their team forward and into a stronger playoff position. But there are a couple of things that could shift. Genesee Deary is a little bit of a coin toss, if you will, as far as who's going to win that one, who's going to exactly win the long pin. There are 3 teams there that could do it. But other than that, I mean, you talk about a tough draw for Carrie. You're arguably, you're getting votes for number 1 in the state, and instead you're going to wind up as the number 6 seed in this setting, just because of the way it's set up.
Yeah. Now, if Carrie wins, I mean, that flips, and then they're the number 1 team all of a sudden. Yep. Coach Kirkland, I don't know. I love looking at this stuff as a coach. They're not really looking at this too seriously yet, right?
Not this bracket. No, you're just. But you love starting fires, and this is going to start some amazing fires, and the talk is going to be stirring now. I love it. That's what this is all about. These seasons are all about these playoffs, and to throw this speculation out here right now is just nothing but wonderful chaos. I'd like to hear some comments from folks out there who think their team might be missing out or is going to move up shortly here. So that good stuff for us to all take a look at. It's never too early to start dreaming, but take care of Friday night first, and you'll be there.
Yeah, I'll tell you what is really shocking to me. The teams in North Idaho might be in trouble here. We talked about Deary and Genesee, and I mean, Deary is ranked 15th right now in Max Preps. The only reason they're on this bracket is because they would be the league champion. Cascade is ranked 12th. 12 teams get in, but that would squeeze them out. And then Wallace at number 14 is on the outside looking in. And I think what's going to happen is Wallace has to win that rematch with Lakeside at the very end of the season to force a tie potentially at the top of the league standings. But just in terms of the Max Preps ranking, because the way that North Star League works, it's a double round robin. And so beating Clark Fork and Coeur de Christ again isn't going to help Wallace move the needle enough in the strength of schedule metric.
No, I think Coach is right in that looking at this is fun and trying to project ahead is fun. But I think more than anything, what it's doing, especially for a team like Wallace, like a Cascade, like a Lakeside, who's number 1 in their district right now, it's showing you the path. And it's letting you know, it's giving you a pretty good idea. Coach Jared Young and his staff and his kids right now are looking at it, and they're probably saying, okay, we don't have a big margin for error. We can't afford a bad night. We've had our one bad night. Now we've got to go out and take care of business if we want to play in the playoffs.
Yeah, pretty interesting. And then like Genesee all the way down to number 19 too. I'm just very surprised. Obviously the Max Preps computers don't think much of North Idaho. And as a North Idaho resident, I take that as a personal insult, but we'll see if they can make some movement here in the next couple of weeks. All right, guys, that is our 1A football breakdown. Still to come. 2A. Boy, there was some crazy action happening last Friday night. Plus, we still have the Coach's Corner segment with Coach Lane Kirkland as well. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this. You're watching the Idaho 8-Man Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
Later.
Here. Girl, thank you.
Hello?
I was in an accident.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I had my seatbelt on.
This year, help dreams come true with the Ideal Idaho 529 Education Savings Program. Our easy-to-use tools make it simple to plan for your child's education. With tax benefits, ownership flexibility, Ideal is the perfect way to save for college, trade school, K-12 education, and student loan repayment. Join us at our next webinar to learn more about the 529 plan. Enrolling takes just 15 minutes and you can start with just $25. Visit idsaves.org if you would like to learn more.
Welcome back to the Idaho 8-Man Prepcast here on IdahoSports.com, brought to you by the Idaho Transportation Department and Ideal, Idaho's savings, college savings program. We've been talking about this really cool contest that's going on, guys. The Ideal College Savings Program contest. They partnered with us here at the Idaho 8-Man Prepcast for a chance to receive a $529 contribution into an Ideal Idaho Education Savings account. It can be used for college, trade school, apprenticeships, graduate programs, so many options nationwide. No account needed to enter. Now, the contest is limited to families with children attending or planning to attend a 1A or 2A school. Just our 8-man peeps. This is fantastic. One grand prize winner will be selected at random from all of the entries It'll be in November or at the very end of October when we announce the winner. The deadline to enter is October 25th. So you've got a couple of weeks still, but I don't know why you would wait, Coach Kirkland. Just get it done, get it out of the way, and sit back and win that $529.
Yeah, get your homework done, kids. Get those assignments turned in. Maybe a shout out to coaches to get a copy of that, a hard copy of that, and get everybody enrolled and give them all a chance.
Yep. And for more information, you can go to this web address, idsaves.org/home/Idaho Sports. That's where you can find all of the contest details. All right, let's go to what happened in the 2A football landscape. The biggest story by far, Will, was Glenns Ferry taking out previously undefeated Raft River 32-8. This was a game I was monitoring Friday night. I kept checking. I'm like, Glenns Ferry has gotten off to a pretty good start. They've extended the lead. I'm sure Raft River is going to make a run here at some point, and they just never did. What a win for the Pilots.
Yeah, an early injury to Kai Ward kind of derailed the playbook a little bit and the game plan a little bit for Raft River. But in talking to head coach Chad Evans over the weekend, he said, basically, hey, I got to tip my cap. They won a lot of the 50-50 battles in the course of the game. They were first to the spot. They were first to the ball. And he also pointed out very directly, he said their offensive and their defensive lines at Glenns Ferry vastly improved. And when you're trying to win in the 2A class, well, any classification, doesn't matter. If you're playing football and you have an offensive line, so take out the 6-man game, you need to win some battles in the trenches if you want to go a long way. And Coach Evans was highly, highly complimentary of the Pilots' offensive and defensive lines, helping them pick up that win.
Some words of encouragement here from Samantha in the chat. Shake this off, Raft River. You got this. Yeah, if Kai Ward can come back and be a factor for Raft River, I think they'll be just fine. But for Glenns Ferry in the win, Landon Stewart, 20 of 23 passing, 157 yards and a touchdown. Also had 9 carries for 39 yards and a score on the ground. Josiah Valencia, 12 carries for 27 yards and a touchdown. Bryce Sterling kind of did it all. 9 carries for 80 yards, 8 catches.
He's quietly having a real nice year, Brandon. We don't talk a ton about Glenns Ferry. We don't talk specifics deeply about many teams because we've got so many to cover and so many games to cover. But almost every game, he's kind of the jack of all trades that does a little bit of everything for them. He's having a great year for them.
Yeah, Bryce Sterling, 9 carries, 80 yards, 8 catches, 75 yards. And I recognize a lot of these kids from Glenns Ferry from baseball, right? They've been a baseball power for so long. It's nice to see it translating to the football equation. And so Glenns Ferry, a big win, 32-8, the final over Raft River. Valley beats Murtaugh 62-34. Another team that didn't have their starting quarterback. Josh Hardy on the sidelines. Drake Jones steps in. All he does is complete 75% of his passes for 134 yards and 3 touchdowns. Coach, though, this probably warmed your heart to see a good, solid running game. Thomas Vargas, 15 carries, 288 yards, 4 touchdowns. Big Dog 8 last Friday.
That's 19 yards a carry, by the way. I did the math. I was very impressed. Yeah, that kid is amazing. He runs so hard and gets it done on the ground, and I guess gave Hardy a rest and picked up all the yards in his place. Oh.
Yeah, and then Nathan Christensen, obviously a good receiver, but also a good defensive player, 12.5 tackles and a fumble recovery on defense there for the Vikings. And then Hagerman beats Oakley 76-12. Wyatt Mavencamp, 9 of 14 passing, 306 yards, 5 touchdowns. Kai Kendall, 6 catches, 212 yards, 4 touchdowns. I tell you what, Kai Kendall might be the most versatile athlete in the 2A classification. He had a game last year in basketball where he set a new school record with 6, I think it was 6 or 7 made pointers. He is silky smooth, Coach Kirkland. He played quarterback, running back, and receiver all at different times last year. Kai Kendall is a fun player to watch for Hagerman.
Yeah, that Hagerman crew is really getting some great things together and really building. I think getting stronger every single week. And with guys like Kai Kendall running around, you can do a lot of different things. And they're using them very well and capitalizing pretty much, it looks like, on every single possession.
Yeah, I mean, they had 545 yards of total offense. That's doing work for sure. So here is the 2A landscape, gentlemen. The standings on the left, the Week 7 schedule on the right. If we look at that Snake River Conference, Valley off to a 3-0 start. Glenns Ferry is now 1-0. They're both 4-1 overall. Raft River still in good shape, 2-1 in the conference, 4-1 overall. Hagerman is 4-1 overall, 1-1 in league play. Murtaugh and Oakley continuing to bring up the rear, both 0-5 respectively. The big games this week, I mean, Murtaugh is going to be at Hagerman, but the battle for the Stanley Trophy, Will, Glenns Ferry at Valley.
Yep, yeah, that's a big one. Dates back to 1992. The Stanley family lost the patriarch and the matriarch in a car accident. And, you know, these two communities, Glenns Ferry and Hazelton, both very prominent to the Stanley family. And the family is very prominent in both communities as well. So they named the trophy between the two teams after it. And whenever they play, the winner gets to take it home. Valley won it last year. Glenns Ferry coming for it this year. And that's going to be a really compelling football game.
And there were some years where the winner held on to it for quite a while because both Glenns Ferry and Valley have dabbled in 11-man football over the years as well. So not only the Stanley Trophy on the line, but first place in the Snake River Conference on the line as well, as both of these teams are undefeated. And that's going to bring us to our Coach's Corner segment this week, Coach Kirkland, because every coach we've talked to, every opponent that Glenns Ferry has played, whether it was Coach Hutchins up at Clearwater Valley or Coach Duty over at Wilder or Coach Evans this past week at Raft River, they've all said the same thing. And Will kind of said it earlier. Offensive and defensive line play significantly improved. They got into the weight room this past summer and they got bigger, faster, and stronger. And so off-season weight training is going to be the subject for this week's Coach's Corner.
All right, let's get started here tonight. This is a subject that I don't have a hard time speaking about, but I don't honestly have a lot of experience about, which I'll share with you as we get towards the end of this thing here. It's kind of a double-sided coin is what I've called this session this evening. To lift or not to lift is the question. And of course, heck, we should lift. We should be lifting all the time. I would say, we need to be lifting all the time. But, let's just go over a couple things briefly here, and then I'm going to feature a few programs that are doing lifting and having great success. So benefits, of course. We all know that it's bigger, faster, stronger. You work out, you're going to get more explosive power. You're going to be faster, more agile. You're going to have increased strength to weight ratio, no matter what size you are. And you're going to be extremely durable to make it through the season. And an 8-man, that's very important because the depth sometimes is not there in some programs. And if you don't have any depth at all, it becomes even more important to become more durable. And of course, when you start flexing in the mirror and people say hi, especially those with long hair and lipstick, that's mental toughness and confidence already.
What are you saying, Coach?
No, you're a stud. You're a stud, dude. So weight room benefits are there, right? And so every town, every team is a little bit different. And I think some of the things that establish some of these towns is their weight room culture. Is your weight room accessible at your school? What are the hours for that thing? Are your kids able to get in there all the time, or is there a series of coaches that are opening that for you? Are the lifts modeled properly and progressively, or are you just going in there and winging it and dusting a few things off? I've seen a lot of that, and sometimes it's a social hour as well. But can those kids get in there? Is it consistently opened? And are the kids consistently attending, meaning 2 to 3 to maybe 4 times a week? Because that matters, right, coaches? Consistency is the key to success. Is it coach directed or athlete led? I think it can go either way. Hopefully the athlete led portion will bring you the most success because they're the ones on the field and they're the ones that want to have the production. And of course, the coach will always raise his hand in favor and say, we'll get in there and let's do some work, fellas. And then there's some goals. Is it productive while you're there? Are you getting things done? So the question to discuss, I guess, this evening is, are championships won in the weight room? Well, let's take a look here at a couple of programs who are coming off of state titles, defending state champions. In fact, 3-time defending champions. Kendrick has 6 titles, 3 most recently in a row here, looking at a 4th. This is what Coach Hobart gave me. They pretty much take basketball season off from lifting and then back at it. 2 to 3 days a week in the morning when track begins, and then throughout the summer. He encourages them to get into weight classes during the school season. Of course, they're throwing around a lot in the gym is what he really emphasized was a strong point for them as well. And then 2 to 3 nights in the summer after work, showing up in their dirty clothes, whatever it might take, and he's getting 20 athletes in there. That's a lot. That's probably 2/3 of his team in the weight room. That answers those questions up above there very well. Our next defending champion, Butte County, won its first state title last year. I think has a few runner-ups as well. Their focus has turned not so much the weight room, even though it's very much incorporated, but to speed. And Coach Higginson is speed certified nationally, and he's with those guys and works with them 30 to 45 minutes during each work session, never to failure. Everything's measured and recorded, and it's all about those 5 things below there: 10, 20, 40-yard sprints, all recorded not by hand, but electronically. And he has all those devices working off of that Feed the Cat system. I suppose you could Google that and find out what that is, but a strong believer in that, and they're all focused on speed and getting fast. You watch them now, and they are getting smoking fast. But also trying to avoid athlete burnout, because sometimes too much weight room can do that. But that's where Butte County's at. Those are your state champions, and those are the results that they're having in their new focus. Well, how about these up and rising teams here? Let's look at Glenns Ferry. We've heard on this show the last couple of weeks and all season that those guys are dudes. And talking to Coach Stewart, he says we have a claim at Glenns Ferry that we have the best weight room in the state. Now, I've never been there to that particular weight room. Maybe some of you have. Have any of you guys been there? Will, Brandon?
I haven't been to the weight room. No,
I've not been to the weight room.
Check that out. I'd like to see a photo of that. Maybe a Glenns Ferry guy could send that on and to take a look. But he says their O-line and D-line has hit that thing hard. And I know some programs just eat metal, and they're just huge kids, and they're strong, but they're also fast. He pays tribute as well to his PE teacher, who is very invested in the weights class and getting those guys on. And his quote is, "We're putting on body armor." And definitely so. And taking down the Trojans last week, some serious body armor there at the Glenns Ferry Pilots. So that's how they do it, and having success. Shon, new coach, new program, new enthusiasm. These kids, when he first got them in the summer or the spring, they met him, and he says, we're gonna teach you how to play this game, and we're gonna start in the weight room. We're gonna talk football. We're getting 10 to 4 athletes a night in there every single week. And if there's not 10, we're calling them, and we're getting the other 4 here and making sure that they are performing as well. And they have put in a ton of time in the weight room to improve themselves. And he says we're 2 or 3 guys deep with 19 players on his team, which means everybody is all in. And so they're winning. They're winning, and the weight room and the new ideas and the new concept of that is certainly paying off. Well, how about Prairie? Old Hasselstrom's back for round 2, and been with the program a long time. He said he started in the early 90s with those guys coaching, and went through the Travis Mater days, watching Prairie win and having some amazing athletes there. And his comment was, these are his comments here: belief in 3-sport athlete. And of course, that is critical. If your person, your team is all involved, strengthening that camaraderie all the way through track, by the way, people, track is important. Speed is built during track. And he says, we have a great girls program. We have a great boys program, and we want to win everything. So let's get everybody out and keep training all year long and also be enrolled in a weights class at school. That's 9 months of lifting, not just 3 in the off season, which would be the summer months. And then he says, then we give him a break. He says, let these kids be kids. You guys go to work, get a job, play hard, and we'll see you for 1 week of camp. And then we'll get back to football in August when that time arrives. But let your bodies rest and recover. We know you're strong, and we'll get back in that mode once again. His burnout effect is definitely real. I appreciated that conversation with him there, because that's a lot of what we do here at Carrie, which is the last program to take a look at. 7 state titles at Carrie. And believe it or not, anyone out there listening, they have been completely weightless state titles over the last 41 years. Between my dad and myself, there has not been much of a weightlifting program here. It's not been in our culture. I have tried so hard all 22 years to make that happen, and it just couldn't get it going. In fact, maybe it's because our first weight room of sizable, anything with size and a number of implements in there only started about 20 years ago, and pretty much first weight class in that particular time. Yeah, we've had 4 or 5 guys here and there in a season go work out from time to time, and some get very strong, and some go on to play college, and the Reggie Bartons and the Neil Bairds and a couple other guys from way back. But it's mostly, ours is mostly built around speed here at Carrie. Working hard and playing hard is a lifestyle. And I've always told the kids, we'll flip the switch on at the July camp, and then we'll hit go. And we're just going to start playing football then. So I know my dad spoke at Missoula one year, and he gave a speech entitled No Weightlifting, State Champions. And he got run over by those guys, but it is possible. We have 7. Believe it or not. And it was all built on speed and camaraderie. So there's a variety of ways to take a look at lifting weights. That I still promote it greatly, and I think it's important. So here's some things to consider. What fits your athlete's needs? Will your parents support it? Is it going to take too much time away from home and away from work, which some families need that extra income, and those kids need those college funds? You might take a look at that. What's realistic? And like I kind of found, if it's not important to your athletes, it's not important to your athletes. You can't lead a horse to water and make them drink, but you can talk football year round and still pick up where you left off and hope for the best. Hope's not a strategy, by the way, but you want your athletes to buy in, and that's where you get the most production. Number 4, is it going to strain your coach's family life? All right, this is something I probably should have taken a little bit more look at. Or you have a good relationship with your wife, you better keep it and make sure you have her approval, because that's important out there as well, coaches. And you got to find a balance, and you got to have fun with it. It shouldn't be a job. This is all about fun and performance, and you got to make it that way, especially when you're working out hard. But all in all, state champions can and cannot be built in the weight room, but it's helping a lot of programs around the state to excel, and amazing things can happen to your body and durability. So good luck to all of you out there.
That was incredible. That was like the plot twist to end all plot twists. You're talking about all these teams that implement weight programs, coach, and then you come at the end and say, Carrie, weightless state champions. I mean, that's definitely not the recommended way. Like you said, you tried, and we definitely, I think, would recommend at least some sort of weight or training program in place. The important thing is get kids together, doing activities together, build that camaraderie, right?
Yeah, that's the important key. And what I did my last few years is incorporated sandbags. I think I've talked about those here before, but the 40-pound sandbag, running 600 or 700 yards with that a night, and core workouts. But that's what we did. Oh.
That's remarkable. And I love just hearing from the different programs, because everybody goes about it a little different way, and they can all lead to successful paths for sure. While you were doing the coach's corner there, Coach Kirkland, Howard hopped on from Butte County. Coach Higginson at Butte has done wonders for speed and weights. for sure. I was looking up the Feed the Cat system. It looked pretty lengthy, but the long story short is it's when you're in a tight situation and you're fatigued, you are going to be, I think, best positioned based upon the speed training that you've done in the past. So yeah, I thought that was really fascinating. Excellent job, Coach Kirkland.
Thank you.
You know, if Will and I started asking coaches statewide, hey, what's the secret to your training? They're like, they're going to tell us to get out of here. Like, hey, no, we're not sharing that.
Yeah, I have a few people in low places.
Right.
Thanks for contributing, coaches. You have great programs out there, and I know there's a lot more that could contribute as well.
For sure. We would love to see a picture of that weight room from Glenns Ferry. So any Pilots fans in the chat, send that. You can send it to me, Brandon at IdahoSports.com, and I'll make sure we all see it. And again, if there is a Coach's Corner topic that you want Coach Kirkland to dive into, you can also send that to me, Brandon at IdahoSports.com, and I'll pass it along to Coach Kirkland. We want to hear from you, the fans. All right, let's get back into what happened at the 2A level this past week. Will, let's go to the Western Idaho Conference over in District 3. It's a conference that's taken its lumps this year, but man, they had a couple of big breakthrough moments this past Friday night. Rimrock defeats Notice 64-46. Ronaldo Gomez, we've talked about him all season long. More than 600 yards of total offense, 420 rushing, 193 passing, 9 touchdowns, 5 on the ground, 4 through the air, also 14 tackles and a sack on defense. We talked about Notice. They're the walking wounded at this point, and they finally ran into a buzzsaw where in 8-man football, sometimes if you have one guy that is a dynamic athlete like Ronaldo Gomez, that can be enough sometimes, Will.
Yeah, and Rimrock also got a couple of players. Morganfield came back from an injury. A couple of players were able to get back into the lineup for them. And particularly with Field, he's such a big, strong kid, a lineman there in front of Ronaldo Gomez. And, Coach, you're the math whiz. 425 yards on 25 carries. Give me the yards per carry on that. But yeah, it's the pendulums are swinging. Yeah, a lot. The pendulums are swinging. Notice is really beat up. Rimrock's feeling pretty good about themselves. And that was a 15-game conference winning streak for Notice that got snapped. And I mean, you want to talk about open up some doors to chaos, Coach. You said you're all in for chaos. We got a real chance for it. Centennial Baptist coming back in to play conference games. So now you have 5 teams. You have a possibility. And I mean, it's a long, convoluted path to get there, but there's a possibility of 4 teams that are 2-2 when this thing is all said and done. We got a chance for some chaos in this league, and it started with Rimrock finally defeating the Ghost. They finally slayed the dragon, and they were finally able to beat Notice.
Yeah. So the other game that you were at for the first half, at least on Friday night, Will, was Wilder and Idaho City. Wilder gets that victory 36-30. You had a chance to talk to Coach Jason Rober from Idaho City prior to the game. What kind of nuggets did you glean about the Wildcats?
Well, he said he wasn't too sure how his team matched up physically with Wilder fullback Julian Neri, and that proved prophetic. Neri ran for about 150 yards and 3 scores. And, he's just a bowling ball. If you get that rock rolling downhill, he's tough to bring down. And that was a big factor in the game. But for Idaho City, it's just such a young team. And Coach Rober, Coach Kirkland, I'm sure you've had many a conversation with him as well, but he's a big believer in the track as well, and whatnot. But he said, right now my goal is to keep these kids engaged and keep them getting better because they are young. They have, I believe it's 18 kids in the program, and 14 of them are either freshmen or sophomores. So a game like that, even though they lost 36-30, the fact that they stood there and traded punches, they made some big plays. They got a couple of freshman cousins. You've got Jackson Rober and Mac Rober, they're cousins. There's some nice pieces there. It's going to be a fun group to watch a couple of years from now if Coach Rober and his staff are able to keep them all together and keep them engaged, which I think he will. I didn't see anything on the sideline that made me feel like there was any sense of, oh man, we're out. So Idaho City has some good, or I'm sorry, Wilder has some good young kids too. It's, the trick when you're having a down year, and coach, you can listen to me on this because I've coached some down teams, and you just win the Super Bowl every year. Keeping kids engaged and keeping energy up, even when you get it laid on you a couple of times. There's an art to that, and it's not a fun art. It's not an art that coaches want to be known for. They don't want to be known for having it put on them. But both of these teams, I really liked their energy, and I think that bodes well for both of them going into the next couple of years.
Yeah, so let's look at this Western Idaho Conference here, guys. Rimrock alone in first at 1-0. Notice and Wilder are each 1-1. Notice gets second place because of the head-to-head win over Wilder, and Idaho City at 0-1. So if you just follow this down from the top of the standings, Rimrock beat Notice. Notice beat Wilder. Wilder beat Idaho City. When Idaho City plays Rimrock, they will have a chance to complete the daisy chain here, and everybody will have beaten everybody. First, though, Idaho City at Notice. Big opportunity for Notice to hang in there and get a second conference win, potentially, and try and hang in here. Rimrock, last time I checked the schedule, they were going to play Adrian's JV. Their varsity team is very good. They beat Grace by a pretty significant score earlier this year. And then you are correct, Will. I haven't had a chance to add it to the schedule yet, but we talked about this at the beginning of the season. Centennial Baptist, Gem State, and Greenleaf Friends kind of had a co-op last year. It faded as the season went along due to low numbers, and those players were kind of incorporated into Wilder's program. Then this summer, it was going to be just Centennial Baptist and Gem State. That never really got off the ground, and we thought the season was over for those guys. Well, they have rallied, and they have gotten enough kids, apparently, to put together a schedule just in time for conference play. It is only Centennial Baptist. So when they had co-opted with Gem State, that is an Adventist academy, Seventh-day Adventist, and so they don't do anything on Fridays. All of their games had to be on Thursday or Saturday. Well, now that it's just Centennial Baptist, they can play on Friday, and they are going to hit the road for all 4 conference games. Starting this Friday, they will be at Wilder, and then the following Friday at Notice, and then at Idaho City, and then at Rimrock. How crazy would that be, Will, if we had Centennial Baptist and Rimrock in the final week of the season for the Western Idaho Conference title?
Or just that game, you never want to say a game might not matter, but have it be, if outcome X happens, then this is the winner. If outcome Y happens, then this is what happens. And that's what's going to be fun for those Centennial Baptist kids. The way things are playing out, they may be winless going into that last game, but their game still most likely is going to matter. It most likely is going to matter. And that's something that'll be cool for them. It'll give them something to play for.
Yeah, I've never seen a team take it up this late in the season, but they are going to compete in the conference. And I mean, Centennial Baptist could potentially be a state playoff team with a record of 4-0, potentially. We'll see. Okay, let's wrap up with the White Pine League. Logos beats Prairie 62-20. Seamus Wilson, 178 yards passing, 134 yards on the ground. Threw 3 touchdowns, ran for 3 touchdowns. Funny quote in the Lewiston Tribune. I don't know if you guys saw this from Logos coach Nick Holloway, but here's what he told the Lewiston Tribune. What I just told them is there's a famous philosopher with a high squeaky voice who likes to say everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, talking about Mike Tyson. And Prairie punched us in the face on that opening drive. Prairie actually scored the first touchdown of the game, he said, and then we just kept punching back. Coach Kirkland, did you ever quote the great philosopher Mike Tyson in your coaching days?
No, I was usually quoting Brandon Baney and Will Hoenike to my team.
He started that quote of famous philosopher with a high squeaky voice, Will, and immediately I thought Mickey Mouse for whatever reason.
I was thinking when I first started to read that was Michael Jackson. Quote some song lyric or something.
Yeah, well, no matter what, however you want to slice up the quote, Prairie lines up to punt on their opening drive. The punter drops the ball, picks it up, runs for the first down. And from there, Prairie, renewed enthusiasm. They score on a touchdown pass from Levi McElroy to Matt Wemhoff, and it's 6-0 Prairie. Logos said, okay, enough of that, and showed that there's still some separation between Logos and Prairie, even though Prairie is probably going to finish in the top half of the White Pine standings. The separation continues. Potlatch beats Troy 82-20. Ben Johnson scores 6 touchdowns. On the ground, Hunter Redmond scores 3 rushing touchdowns. Jay Marshall only threw the ball 6 times. He completed 5 of them for 104 yards and a touchdown. And then Kendrick beats Lapway 54-8. Maddox Kirkland 10 of 12, 197 yards, 5 touchdowns. Kamei shuts out Clearwater Valley in the annual Upriver Rampage game, 36-0. Dave Clute, 17 of 22 passing, 244 yards, 5 total touchdowns. Gavin Shaning on the defensive side of the ball, 17 tackles, doing work there. So again, we're really starting to see this White Pine League settle into tiers here, guys. If we look at the standings, Logos still in first at 5-0. Potlatch and Kendrick are each 3-0. I would say right now that's a tier, right? They've all not lost. Prairie 2-1, Kamei 1-2. Prairie has already beaten Kamei head to head. That top 5, pretty solid. I feel pretty good about all those teams being in the mix or qualifying for the postseason this year. It's just a matter of, okay, we'll start to see that separation as they all start to play each other. Big matchups this week. You've got Prairie at Clearwater Valley, Troy at Kamei. Oakley is going to play Logos in a non-conference game Saturday at McCall Donnelly. Neutral site game there. But the big game everyone's looking at here, Coach Kirkland, is Potlatch at Kendrick, a battle of 5-0 Potlatch, 4-0 Kendrick. Rubber meets the road here.
Yeah, that's a chance here for Potlatch to see what they're made of here, and Kendrick for a challenge. And it should be a good one here. Both teams coming in with a lot of confidence and scoring some points. So a good showdown.
Really, Will, the way these two offenses churn out the points, it may come down to 1 or 2 empty possessions. That could decide the difference. It could be whatever team goes 9 for 9 on touchdown drives, right?
Yeah, it could. And I think there are a lot of people who are really intrigued to see is Potlatch for real. They're 5-0, and they've won 3 in league play, but they, as someone said to me once, they haven't exactly played the top tier of the conference yet. And so it doesn't get much more top of the conference than Kendrick or Logos, and then they're playing Kendrick. So if Potlatch, and I think Potlatch is good. I think Ryan Ball's a heck of a coach. I think he does a great job with those kids. And I don't think you go 5-0 on accident ever. If you win 5 games, you deserve respect. But I think to make an impression on some people, I think they're going to need to trade punches with Kendrick. And we've seen for the past about 3 years, that's really hard to do because Kendrick is really, really good. And a couple weeks ago when Paul co-hosted for you, Brandon, or sub-hosted for you, he had a slip of the tongue where he referenced Logos clearly being the number 1 team up north. And it was just a slip of the tongue. It was an accident. And Zane Hobart texted. He's like, "That's okay, Paul. I like to fly under the radar." And I'm like, "Coach, there's not a radar low enough for you to get under. That Tiger logo is dead center on every 2A radar in the state of Idaho because they're so good. They're so talented. They're so well prepared. Everybody wants to be the guy, the team, the coach, the quarterback, the whatever that says, I stopped them. And Potlatch is the next one to have a chance.
And then if the target couldn't get any bigger, I come on tonight and Kendrick's the number 1 team in the nation, according to Max Preps at 8. Just yes. make that bullseye a little bigger. Hey, here's Alfred in the chat here. I'm going to guess this is a proud papa. Marshall boys are coming. Waylon and Jay. Well. Yeah, Waylon and Jay Marshall from Potlatch. I got to meet both of them 2 years ago at the 1A state baseball tournament. It was in Lewiston, and Jay and Waylon's mother was up in the score booth. She was helping keep track of the pitch count. And then Waylon and Jay would come up after every game and check in. And we're, of course, broadcasting right there. So, yes, I got to meet almost the entire Marshall family, and they're all outstanding people from Potlatch. And so we'll see. It is going to be really interesting to see this game on Friday night. Okay, guys, real quick, though. We'll wrap up the show. We did this for the 1As. It's only fair that we do it for the 2As. Let's take a look real quick at if the playoffs started today, what would the bracket look like? How would it all shake out? Let's peek ahead. This bracket, a little simpler. There's only 4 districts in 2A football, so the 4 district champions receive the first round bye. The remaining slots go to the highest ranked Max Preps teams, but then the quarterfinals will be seeded 1 through 8 based on the Max Preps rankings. So just because you're a conference champion doesn't mean you automatically get a top 4 seed. And so you'll see in our projections here, and again, we project based upon who's leading in the standings. And if there's a tie, we go with who has the higher Max Preps ranking. So you're like, boy, where's Kendrick? Well, technically Kendrick is 4-0 and Logos is 5-0. They've played one more conference game. That's why we give Logos the nod. But right now, Butte County would be the 2 seed. Logos would be the 3. Valley, we're projecting as the champs from District 4. They'd be the 4 seed. Rimrock, as the champion from District 3, would only be the 8 seed in this revamped quarterfinal round, but they would at least get a bye. And then the at-large games. How about Potlatch at Kendrick? We're going to see that battle Friday night in the 8 versus 1. Glenns Ferry at Hagerman in the 7-2. 6-3, Kamei at Grace. Those two have played each other a couple times over the years. And then Prairie and Raft River in that 5-4 matchup. Coach Kirkland, what do you think of this hypothetical bracket we've unveiled here?
Well, just like the last one, it's still a little early, but it gets everyone motivated and looking at it just a little bit closer. Like we talked a little bit earlier here. Are some of these true? Yeah, I think some of these are true and not sealed up yet, but looking pretty positive, especially that number 1 spot with Kendrick there. And maybe Butte County there at 2. They're getting better every single week. So everyone else needs to hang on there. And if you look at the list across the board, who are those other teams that can play into this here? What are their survival games to be able to beat out those lower teams? Can a Rimrock hang on and get in there at number 14? Does Myrtles hasn't won a game yet, but they're looking to try and get a win there. Can they sneak in? They're close. They're 13. So nothing's out of the ballpark yet here, folks. Just keep playing this game, and we'll see where Max Preps assigns everyone in the end.
That District 4, it's the Lighthouse effect, right? Will, we talked about this a couple of years ago. Lighthouse Christian, because of the strength of schedule, they were like 0-6, but they were still projected to make it, and they finally got a win or 2 at the end of the season. That was enough to push them across. Would it surprise anybody if Coach Brennan Jones's Oakley Hornets found a way to win a couple at the end of the season and sneak into the playoffs and then be everybody's worst nightmare in the opening round?
It would surprise me a little bit, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to Coach Jones or to Oakley at all, but they're awfully beat up. Both the Bingham boys are hurt. Dallin Hardy's out with an injury, and they don't have that explosive back. They don't have the Bryce Severe that they've had in years past. Though Cole Beck looks like he's not bad. Jackson Rice, the quarterback, he's not bad. They'll both be back. This might just be their regroup year. If they were fully healthy, if both the Binghams were 100%, if Dallin Hardy was still healthy, I'd say, Brandon, you may be onto something there. I think they're at this point, and we got a month, things can change. At this point, I just think they're a little bit too banged up.
Okay. Well, Will, thanks for dampening my enthusiasm. On that note, no, I'm just kidding.
Do what I can.
Hey, I appreciate you guys indulging me on this. I know it's probably the last thing you wanted to do. Like, hey, it's way too early to be looking at this stuff, but I'll tell you, it's what the people want. And so I give it to them. And clickbait, I have fun.
It's clickbait.
Yeah. I've been accused of many things. I don't know if clickbait has ever been one of them, but all right. We went a little long tonight. I got to be honest, guys. We're getting to the part of the season where we're trying to shine the light on everybody. And as we get more into talking about playoff scenarios and things like that, it may go a little longer. I'm trying to keep it all in check, but Coach Kirkland, I appreciate you going to overtime with us tonight.
Yeah, lots of fun, fellas, and good luck to everybody out there. Play hard tomorrow night or tonight, Clearwater Valley, and do your best.
So you're going to be
JV game, Coach.
What's that?
Who won the JV game?
I'm sure the clock was running in favor of Raft River this evening. It was 30-0 at halftime. Raft River is pretty powerful JV.
Sorry about that. I've
Interesting.
now rained on Coach Kirkland and on Brandon. Anyone else I can make mad tonight? Oakley, you mad at me?
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to invite Will back next week. No, I'm just kidding. Of course,
no kidding. I might be designated for assignment right after the broadcast here.
Yeah, well, Will, it all falls on your shoulders. Coach Kirkland's going to be in Montana. I'm going to be in Montana. You're going to be our eyes and ears this weekend.
I will be in Idaho. I will be.
Okay. You going anywhere fun? You taking in any games?
My daughter and I are talking. You saw her walk through here a couple minutes ago. We're talking about one of two games. We're either going to the Tri-Valley Council game, but we got a couple things up in the air that might bleed us past the time where we can get from our house up to Cambridge. So we might go to either Wilder or to Notice, to be determined.
Okay, hey, not a bad. Wilder, I'd be interested, Will, because that'd be Centennial Baptist's first game. So
Yep.
Okay, I'm not telling you what to do here, but no, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm thinking about it because I've never seen Centennial Baptist play. Like I've seen in one way or another, I've seen almost every other team play, whether it's on video, on one of the IdahoSports.com live broadcasts, or with my own eyes. I've never seen Centennial Baptist. I don't even know what their uniforms look like. So that one kind of piques my interest just because I want to go see what they're up to.
Sounds like some good Instagram content too for that Idaho 8-man Instagram account. So
could be.
All right. Well, Coach Kirkland has
he's had enough apparently.
He's left the chat. On that note, for the coach Layton Kirkland and Will Hoenike, my name is Brandon Baney. Thank you for tuning into the Idaho 8-man Prepcast. Everybody enjoy the games this weekend. We'll see you back here for another edition next Thursday on IdahoSports.com.